Hello and welcome. Today we will be talking about Raider token and Raider token's price. We are going to be doing some very amateur level analysis. You're not going to be getting any real great analysis here. This is just going to be me sharing my method for how I'm valuing Raider token, what I think it's currently worth, where I think it's headed. None of this is financial advice. Do your own research. There's tons of videos out there on YouTube about how to analyze fair value on both stocks and tokens, and you can generally apply most of the principles of stocks to Raider token, as it does have, through staking, a payout which is equivalent, kind of equivalent to a dividend. And you can do all sorts of things with that and try and figure out what the fair value is. I do none of that because I'm not smart enough to figure any of that out. Instead, I take the amount of Aurum being paid out, and I just work out, and I've got this whole notepad here. I work out what I think the fair value is based off of what APR I think people would like to see, and what that would give us based off of user growth, assuming... Now, all of this assumes that the price of Aurum stays the same and doesn't move at all, which of course it will. This also assumes that all tokens brought in from the liquidity pools are immediately staked, which of course they won't. This also completely disregards any tokens that are sitting in people's wallets that aren't being staked. It also, let's see, what other assumptions does this make? It makes several other assumptions as well. Let me try and look through here. Everything below here assumes that people want a 60% APR on solo Raider stake. All of this also assumes that the amount of Aurum being spent in game will be a linear increase based off of the number of users that come into the game. So if the amount of people playing the game doubles, we assume that the amount of Aurum being spent will also double, and thus the amount that we are receiving from solo stake will also double. That's a lot of assumptions, which is going to cause some wildly inaccurate results, I would guess. But this is what I'm personally using. It's working for me in terms of trying to come up with a value. I think it comes up with some pretty fair values, personally, despite it being a very basic, uninformed method of trying to track price targets. Anybody who wants to who's actually an accountant or is actually good at figuring this stuff out, wants to make a video on it, I will absolutely share it and tell everybody to go watch that video. But since nobody has done it, I'm going to give it my shot. So you can see the current price is $2.17. If we go to the 1 month view, we can kind of see it's been generally moving up from where it was a month ago. Going over to my notepad, we're currently getting 750,000 Aurum per day going to Raider token stakers. That's about 273,750,000 Aurum per year going out, assuming that stayed exactly as it is. There's roughly 6 million Raider tokens staked, so that means each Raider token that is staked is receiving about 45.6 Aurum per year. So when I started writing this, the price was $2.16, so I'm using that for the calculations here. And given the price of Aurum, that means that on average, receiving 45.6 per year. Obviously, different staking times are providing different APRs, but on average, we're receiving about 52% APR. And if you look at the bank page and see what the estimated APRs are, you'll see that's slightly below the upper estimate, and that is because the majority of people are staked for a year, and it only brings it down by about 14 or 15% to reach the average. So the current value depends on what the community feels, basically everybody who is staked in Raider, what they feel is an acceptable APR. Because if the APR is higher than what people deem acceptable, then the APR will inevitably go down as more and more people stake. to try to get in on that APR. If it's lower, less people will stake, and over time that APR will rise and the price of the token will fall to reach whatever we feel as a whole that is an acceptable income of Aurum from staking. Obviously, this ignores quite a few other factors. There are going to be a lot of people that won't care how much APR they're getting, just so long as they keep getting free Aurum or not free, but some people consider it to be free, even though you are staking for it. Free Aurum coming in to continue playing the game. They won't really care what the APR actually is. They just want to keep getting more Aurum in. And will believe in the project enough. They believe in the project enough that they're not accounting the risk of having money staked for a year at a time, or 3 months at a time, or whatever amount of time. But we can make some assumptions here to get a base price that we'll use to calculate everything else. Assuming that the average APR of 33% would be acceptable for people, then the price right now should be $3.45, because that is the price that would get us an average APR of 33%. If people want it to be 60%, which is the amount I'm going to be using, because I'm going to, basically all of my calculations are going to be very leaning towards the pessimistic. That's kind of the way I like to operate, is lean towards the pessimistic and then be pleasantly surprised if it comes out the other way. This is probably the safest method for figuring out value. But if people want it to be 60% APR in order to stake more, then the price right now should be $1.90 per token, which is a little bit less than the $2.16 that we used for the calculations. So it should go down in theory. Now, this doesn't take into account how much growth we're going to have, and of course price should be higher depending on how much you think the community is going to grow over time. So every day, about 27,396 Raider tokens are added through the liquidity pools, which means about 10 million tokens per year are added to circulation. That means that we have to have a growth of at least 166% in the first year to offset that dilution. And this is assuming that all 10 million tokens will go into straight staking, and that I am not taking into account any tokens outside of the 6 million that are already staked in the current pool. So that's where I'm getting this 166% number from. This is, of course, extraordinarily pessimistic, and we probably don't need that much growth in order to offset dilution. But that is the number I'm going to use. Like I said, everything here is going to be pessimistic in the extreme. So the current user base is about approximately 2,100 users. That means in 1 year, we need to have at least 5,600 users to offset that. I think that is extraordinarily achievable. I think that would be, I would be utterly shocked if we only had 5,600 users in a year. Just look at where we've come since September. I think we were at about 1,000 something users in September. Now we're at 2,100. I think it was like 1,200 users. So we're up almost 100% in a couple of months. So I think reaching 5,600 users would be extremely easy in a year's time. But we will go ahead and make some assumptions to try to figure out what the price of the token should be right now. If you assume that 1 year from now, we're only going to have 4,200 users. So if you're super pessimistic, you think we'll only double the number of users in an entire year, then the fair value would be about 71 cents in 1 year. And I'm getting that off of assuming that people want a 60% APR and that the amount of Aurum coming in would be exactly doubled. So we'd be getting in about 90 Aurum per year per Raider token in staking. And this assumes that all 10 million of the new tokens throughout this year go into straight staking, and that prices of Aurum don't change, and that the amount of Aurum being spent in-game is exactly doubled due to double the user base. And that would mean that 59 cents would be the fair price right this second, because that would leave 20% of growth in the asset's value over the course of a year, which is generally considered to be quite good. So if you take the next assumption, 5,600 users, that would mean 1 year from now, $1.90 would be the fair price, which would mean today the fair price would be $1.58, significantly below our current price. Again, I think this is very easily achievable. If you assume that the user base will be 10,500, which is 5 times the current user base, which personally is what I think would be completely reasonable. I think 10,500 users in 1 year would be the conservative side. It is the amount that I am currently using as the basis for what I think the fair value is. And I'm currently sitting, if I opened up my bank page, I'm sitting at about 27,000 Raider tokens, just straight, not staked, not in straight staking, just chilling in my wallet doing nothing, because I'm waiting for it to hit a value of approximately this price before I move it back into the liquidity pools to start earning Raider. Because if we have 10,500 users in a year, that means 1 year from now the fair price would be $3.56, and the fair value right this second would be $2.96. So I don't plan on putting money back into the liquidity pools when I can have it in Raider token until it reaches this point, because that is significantly higher than our current price. At $2.96, divide by our current price of $2.17, would be about a 36% increase in price from our current price point. So I would rather, oops, how did I even do that? Whatever. Anyway, this is the number I'm currently using. Obviously, this is extremely conservative for what most members of the community think, I believe. Maybe I'm completely off base and people are more pessimistic. But I think hitting 10,500 users in a year would be extremely easy for this team. At the current rate that we're growing, I would expect to completely blow this out of the water. But this is my conservative side estimate, and this is what I currently value Raider token at personally. And if it hits $2.96, I will sell out the Raider token that is just sitting in my wallet doing nothing and move into the liquidity pool to start earning more Raider. That being said, I would not, even if it was released today, I would not sell my tokens that are in straight stake, because like I said, this is my most conservative estimate of what I actually think it's worth, not what I really believe in the project for. I think it's worth far more than that. So from here, we're going to get a little bit crazy with growth just to have fun and see what the numbers come out to. But if you assume 50 times growth throughout the course of a year to 105,000 users, then the fair price would be $35.60 in a year, or about $29.60 today. And then, of course, if you go to 500, then everything's just 10 times that amount, and we get $356 per token in a year, or $296 for today, which would be 1 million users, roughly. A little bit over 1 million users. Obviously, I don't think this is at all even close to realistic for 1 year. As amazing as this team is, hitting 1 million users in a year is not going to happen. It takes time to build up. It takes time to build a game. We've got to get through the Unity port and get everything rolling out there. Even if you want to be extremely optimistic and say that we'll all get done in Q1, and that the team will continue to pump out content at its current pace, it takes time for people to move over to a new project. It takes time for people to come in and want to be involved and to invest heavily. And even if we saw 1 million users, the main reason for that, I think, would be a lot of people that are here to play purely in guilds and earn money that way, and won't be spending a large amount of Aurum. So you would see the fair value decrease drastically as or compared to user base anyway, as the amount of Aurum being spent per user would decrease. So I think you can kind of just take this one off the table, in my opinion. So the top end optimistic estimate, I think, would be 105,000 users. I think that is even likely quite optimistic. For a more realistic number, I'm just going to type out Let's say, let's say maybe 35,000 users or so. So that would be what? About 16 times our current user base. So we'll say 33,600 users in a year, or about 16 times our current user base. So then 1 year from now, let's see, what would that be? In doing this on the fly here. Fair price would be at 16x. So the way I'm calculating this is 273 million. Oops, I keep mistyping it. 273,750,000 Aurum coming in per year right now, times 16 for the new users, divided by 16 million tokens staked, because I'm assuming all 10 million coming in will get straight staked, plus the 6 million already staked, would be 273 Aurum per Raider token coming in. And then you just simply take that, multiply it by the price of Raider of 0.025, and you get $6.84. Then you multiply that by the, oops, no. You would divide that by 0.6 to get the 60% return. And that would mean the price of Raider in a year would be about $11.40, or about, divide by 1.2, or about $9.50 today. Oops, forgot a decimal there. This is what happens when I'm doing everything on the fly while I'm recording. Probably not a great idea. But this would be a more realistic, optimistic estimate, I think. 16 timesing the number of users would be huge, and assuming that they all spent the same way that we do currently on the game, you would see a price 1 year from now of about $11.40 for the Raider token, or about $9.50 would be the fair value right now, assuming that you're leaving 20% growth for the token. So that is going to wrap up this video. Like I said, this is all very amateur level analysis. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just spouting off numbers and using them for my personal use. This is just the way I'm personally analyzing things. Thought maybe some people might find it useful, or at least insightful into what I'm thinking with my current thoughts on the Raider token. So I expect, of course, to see this rocketing upwards over the course of the next 3 to 6 months as we see more users being brought on. And we'll see what happens with marketing. Maybe this is way too optimistic. Maybe even this is too optimistic. I have no idea, but this is the conservative estimate I'm using because I'm super bullish on the game. And this is the more optimistic estimate. So I'll leave it off there, and you can let me know what you think in the comments. You can tell me what an idiot I am for thinking that this is any way useful in terms of analysis and what the correct way to do it is. I'd love to know what the correct way to analyze these tokens are, because I'm a little bit out of my depth here. But thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Again, none of this is financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only, and for a little bit of insight into my thoughts. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified when more videos come out, and I'll see you next time.